Welcome to Dr. Charles Speaks, a podcast for now. You've joined us for a special series of transformational talks, selected exclusively from Dr. Charles's corporate success calls. The 15-minute calls are designed to encourage leaders, activate your thought life, and prepare you for the challenges ahead. Dr. Charles joins every call with a blend of his personal experiences, his expertise as a John Maxwell certified mentor and coach, and of course, his more than 30 years of exceptional experience in both corporate America and ministry. Get motivated with Dr. Charles Speaks, a transformational talk from the red line on today's podcast, inspiring excellence and generating results.
Good day, my friends. This is Dr. Charles. Let's make it a great day. I want to thank you again for joining me on the call here. This call, I think it'll make a difference. It certainly will start your week off on a positive note. At least I hope so. And certainly it is to inspire you to continue to challenge yourself along the personal journey of your leadership growth. Someone says, well, I'm not a leader. Oh, yes, you are. If you influence just one person, that makes you a leader. And even if you can't find one person, your actions, what you do, makes you a leader. So we're all leaders in some way or another. You may be leading a company, you may be leading a team, you may be leading a household, you may be leading just your child, or you may be leading yourself. But at the end of the day, you and I and others, we can and we shall make a positive difference. I want to talk to you today about, are you a failure? No. The answer is no in advance. If you failed, does that make you a failure if you failed? No. The answer is no. So I've given you the answers to the questions already. Now I just want to talk about this concept of failing and to press on. I'm all about failing, but yet it's a process. It's one that will help you and help others to reach their goal by continuously learning and growing. Many people wrestle with feelings of failure. The most damaging is really being doubtful, having doubtful thoughts about themselves. Have you ever had doubtful thoughts about yourself that you couldn't do it, you didn't think you could do it, but you tried and you did it? That's what I want to talk about. At the heart of those doubts and at the heart of those feelings is one central question that you may ask yourself, am I a failure? Because I doubt myself. I never even tried, or I tried once and failed. But what you have to really tell yourself, my friends, is this. You have to speak to yourself. If nobody else will say it, you got to say it. Say it. Look in the mirror and look at yourself and say it. I'm not a failure. I'm not a failure. You know, every successful person, just interview anybody that you deem as successful. Every one of them have failed at some point or another. Yet, here's the difference. Yet, they never regarded themselves as a failure. They failed, but they never regarded themselves as a failure. And neither should you. Thomas Edison, one of the most prolific inventors in history, was considered unteachable as a youngster. Albert Einstein, remember him? The greatest thinker of our time, was told by a Munich school master that he would never amount to much. All great achievers are given multiple reasons to believe that they're failures. But in spite of this, in spite of that, there's something in common with all of these that have gone on in spite of failure. And that which is common, my friends, is that they persevered. They persevered in the face of adversity. They persevered in rejection. They persevered in failing. They continue to believe in themselves, and they refused to consider themselves failure. I've come to a point in my journey, in my life, that I just will not give up. There are some things that I want to continue to learn, and some things I want to experience, some things I want to conquer, some things that I want to achieve, some things I want to be able to share with you and others that will listen to me. And yet, in the midst of life's journey, I've fallen short in some ways of reaching the goals that I've set. But I realize that age is just but a number. But when you have purpose in your heart and you have purpose to succeed, you will have that inside of you that propels you, that gives you that unction to continue until you're finished. You know, I've talked to people, I've said this before, visiting the sick and by their bedside and giving them words of encouragement and praying alongside with them for a speedy recovery. And I often ask the question before we pray together and agree that let's give God, our Maker, something to keep us healthy, to heal us from our sickness, and to strengthen our bodies and our minds, that we could go forth from out of the hospital bed and back into the field of working and being a blessing to people along the way. And it's something about that, because what it does, it encourages the person who's lying there, because they think about it that though I may not feeling 100% right at this moment, but I like what I'm hearing myself say, that there's work to do, there's places to go, there's people to see, there's things to do. And it speeds up their healing. It speeds up, at least in their mind, they are thinking more positive. They are expecting to get well and to get back to the things in life. Now, there are times where people have said those things, but yet they passed on for whatever reason. They didn't get a chance to do those things that they wanted to do, at least at that time. But we continue to believe on. We continue to have hope. We continue to desire to press on and make a difference. Well, how should we encourage and lead others? We've got to value people, praise their effort, and reward the performance. That's how we can, as leaders, encourage and lead others. Value them, praise their efforts, and reward their performance. Someone said God uses people who fail because there aren't any other kind around. So I want to leave with you 4 things that will help you fail forward, will help you stay in the march to victory, to the march of fulfilling your dreams and aspiration. Number 1, achievers. Here's what they do. They all have this in common. They reject rejection. Someone never tell you can't make it, you won't be able to do it, you'll never succeed. Well, achievers, they put in their minds, oh no, I reject that. I am going to succeed. The never give up message that I continue to beat the drums. Never give up, because you're going to face rejection. You're going to face naysayers. And what I've learned in my own personal life in facing rejection and facing naysayers, it just made me a better person, and it made me try even harder. And actually, I've used it as fuel for positive results. There was an author by the name of James Allen. He stated this. He says, a person is literally what he or she thinks. Think about that, what you think. And so changing your mind, changing the channel off of negativity and moving on to the channel of positivity. You know, people who don't give up, rather than say, I'm a failure, they say, I just missed that one. Or they say, I just made a mistake. And that's the difference, where people who are achievers versus people who just simply give up and accept the propaganda of someone saying you can't, someone saying you won't, someone saying you never will be. But when you're at a place where you reject rejection, then you're on the road of achieving. Number 2, achievers, they see failure as temporary versus seeing failure as the end chapter. I like this analogy. It's like climbing up a ladder, and you reach halfway up the ladder and you make a mistake, you fail at something. Some people believe you fall all the way back down to the end of the ladder and have to start all over again. You just failed on that one piece of that ladder, that one step, and you start again and you continue. So, my friends, when achievers fail, they see it as a moment. They see it as not a lifelong situation. I'm reminded as I read about the former President Harry Truman. Many of you wouldn't know him, but some of you do that are listening to me. In 1922, Harry Truman, President Truman, was 38 years old, and at the time he was in debt, and at the time he was out of work. Something changed. Something happened in 1945. He was the most powerful leader in the free world. If he had seen failure as permanent, he would have remained stuck and never would have kept trying and believing in his potential. Achievers see failure as temporary. Number 3, achievers focus on strengths, their own strengths. What distinguishes winners from losers is that winners, what they do, they concentrate at all times on what they can do, not on what they can't do. The ideal is to strive in your own lane. Keep striving. There's something for you that you're really good at. You keep getting better at it, and you keep moving forward. Number 4, achievers, they bounce back. All achievers have in common the ability to bounce back after an error. They have this knack of overcoming the mistake or the failure because they understand that life is a series of outcomes. There's ups and downs, there's peaks and valleys. But sometimes the outcome is what you want. Great. Figure out what you did right. That's the key. Sometimes the outcome is what you don't want. Great. Figure out what you did so that you don't do it again. That's the key to bouncing back. I'm reminded of a movie, the character, true story, Rudy. You remember Rudy? Rudy, the guy whose dream was to make it and be accepted into the school, Notre Dame, and to play on the football team. Well, his journey in the beginning was not an easy journey. He was not good in his schoolwork. His grades were not acceptable. He attended community college. He started to turn it around. His grades got better. He finally was accepted into Notre Dame 8 years later after graduating from high school. He was at the age 26 years old, and he played on the practice squad against the starters in practice. He never gave up on his dream, 1, to get into the school of Notre Dame, 2, to play. And so on the last day of the season of his career at Notre Dame, he got a chance to play. And on the second play, he tackles, gets by the defender, and tackles the quarterback. What a story. You ought to watch that movie. I didn't do it justice in telling you all about it, but it was an inspiring movie. It was one that, in the midst of failing, in the midst of perhaps even wanting to give up, but yet he set his sights on something huge, something large. He achieved it. What is your dream? Where are you going with it? I'm here to tell you, you'll get there if you never give up. This has been Dr. Charles. You've been on The Red Line with Dr. Charles, and I thank you for joining me. Now let's go back to work, and let's make it a great day. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Charles Speaks. Visit drcharlesred.com for booking info for your ministry, business, or leadership team. Get info about The Red Line, a 15-minute corporate success call each Monday morning with Dr. Charles. Follow Dr. Charles on all social media at Dr. Charles Red. Subscribe to the podcast here for every episode of Dr. Charles Speaks. Thanks for joining us. Like Dr. Charles always says, No matter what, never, never, never give up. Until next time.